尔是科学家，
比尔是科学家，
比尔是科学家。
科学定律，
比尔是科学家，
惯性是物质的性质之一。
比尔
是科学家。
倒数7秒，计时开始。
比尔是科学家。
Okay, so I took her out to dinner, and the first thing I said was, "So were you born like that? Or was it the radiation? Because you're simply glowing." Okay. How about this one? I lied to an X-ray, dude. But he saw right through me. Okay, so you might have guessed it, but the topic at hand today, in the general sense, is radiation and all the mutations it may cause. Of course, radiation is, scientifically, emission and transmission of energy in the form of particles through space or other material mediums. This ranges from visible light that we see every day to the powerful and high-frequency gamma rays that are used to eliminate cancer cells. Some of its forms can cause mutations or shifts in the structure of genes and DNA, which is the most part detrimental to our bodies and cells. Although positive mutations are possible, getting cancer from radiation is much more likely. This is why we have an atmosphere to protect us from a lot of these dangerous radiations, as well as the proteins in our cells to correct mutations. Without further ado, let's get more in depth with this topic. Jason?
Okay, let's go through the basics. There's ionizing radiation and non-ionizing radiation. Whoa, okay. So ionizing radiation is a lot stronger than non-ionizing radiation. What it means to be ionizing is that it carries enough free energy to pull electrons away from the molecules and other substances that it interacts with. So effectively, they can turn normal atoms into ions and other charged molecules. This is actually really bad if you think about its damage to the DNA, because as we know, phosphate and the sugar, deoxyribose, is covalently bonded. When, let's say, radiation such as gamma rays, such as X-ray, and other ionizing radiation interacts with this, well, it can effectively break that covalent bond, right? It causes direct damage onto the DNA, which can cause mutations, and this is severely detrimental in many circumstances. Okay, you might think that, well, it's such a bad thing, why are we still alive? Well, effectively, a little amount of this radiation is actually okay. But when it accumulates, when there's too much X-ray, too much gamma ray, it can cause many mutations. And that is when, well, certain diseases might occur. That is when maybe cancer may occur, since the body does have mechanisms to fix it. When there's too much of it, well, simply that just increases the probability of such like diseases.
Okay, so non-ionizing radiation is a bit different from ionizing radiation. Usually, non-ionizing radiation doesn't actually cause mutations because, well, it doesn't have enough free energy to release electrons on chemicals that it interacts with. The only exception to this is UV light, and there are two types of UV lights, UVA and UVB. Okay, so UVA, essentially what it does is, upon interaction with oxygen, it creates highly reactive chemical intermediates. These are intermediates such as hydroxyl, such as oxygen radicals, and these can actually severely damage DNA because, well, they're highly reactive. So usually, DNA damage from this is indirect and mostly through single-strand breaks. This is how UVA works.
Okay, so UVB is different because it can cause direct DNA damage. What it does is it excites DNA molecules in skin cells. This causes covalent bonds between adjacent pyrimidine bases. So what you have is maybe like two thymines and they bond together. So when this happens, it becomes a dimer. And this is bad because, well, the thymines now cannot bond with the opposite strand, and this is the mutation that it causes is really detrimental. Usually it results in a double strand break. And, well, since UV light only interacts with the skin, it most likely occurs within skin cells. Okay. The body does have natural defenses against radiation, against these mutations. What's known is that the brown pigment melanin increases along with exposure to radiation. This is what you call a suntan. Okay, basically what it does is it absorbs and dissipates the energy as harmless heat, blocking the radiation from damaging body cells. Well, and of course, if the skin cells are not protected, if the cells are not protected from radiation, well, you have proteins in your cells that try to fix this first. But if that doesn't go well, you can always program apoptosis to cause cell death. And that's how the story ends.
Yo, everyone, X-ray is the next topic. This is crucial information. Don't just simply forget it. X-ray is a form of electromagnetic radiation. Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen, this is his creation. X-ray shines a light on parts that are important. Bones, muscle, skin, tissue, and many other sections. How does it cause mutations? That's the more important question. Let's answer it right now, because I know you ain't patient. Overexposure to X-ray creates phenotypic mutants, where it changes your chromosome and create major differences such as addition, subtraction, and translocations known as class switches, which all can be very harmful to your genetic system. 1927 was the discovery's inception, where Herman Muller found out X-ray created fruit fly mutations. Not only did it work on fruit flies, but it worked on humans. We have to be careful with X-ray with all the risks we're facing. If you say that rap wasn't good, you would be a liar. If you X-ray my rap, all you would see is fire. Call me Jesus Christ, because I am the Messiah. Give me money now, because I know I'm higher. Science is the bomb. It's gonna blast my mark higher.
So nuclear radiation affects genetic information, the DNA, and sometimes passed on to future generations through gametic cells. So the genetic mutations rates are very difficult to collect surrounding nuclear power plants. But since it's more inconsistent, we can focus more on the aftermath of 2 Japanese nuclear bombings. So the first is Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, and 3 days later in Nagasaki. And the total casualties of the 2 accidents are estimated to be 111,000 estimated, resulting in the surrender of the Japanese Empire and the victory for Allied forces. So the mutations of human genetic information includes birth defects, chromosome aberrations, etc. And the A-bomb survivors receive a low median, surprisingly, doses of about 0.14 GY. According to the Radiation Effects Research Foundation of Japan, since 1948, infant inspections have started in both cities, and about 76,000 infants were examined. They were based on birth weight, prematurity, sex ratio, and neonatal death and birth defects. For birth defects, 594 cases among the 65,000 infants have occurred, which is only 0.91% of the examined population. And when you look at the contemporary birth effects collected at the Tokyo hospitals, you can see that it's actually 0.92% for contemporary babies. So we can see that the babies that receive radiation actually have a less radiation effects than the general population. So usually the birth defects are basically anencephaly, basically missing or addition of parts of body. Most commonly additional finger or toe, accounting for 75% of those aberrations. Thank you.
When the days are cold, this is what we're told. The transfer of heat from hot to the cold. When the heat will sail through the air, it's said it's radiation using infrared. The sun provides the truth, the rays come down on you. Fireplace on inside, you feel the waves of fire. No matter how the heat, different temperatures.